the business itself has been around since 1987, and we started out in finance, but specifically finance for independent schools, because of course there is a unique need around how the fee billing works and how certain things are accounted for, and all of the various issues around that. So the business originally started making finance software specifically for independent schools. It was an ex-ed teacher that came up with the software originally, and it was all in DOS and Clipper, the famous Clipper. And yeah, over I suppose it's all, at that time it was a small company. It's growing quite slowly, and we very much were in the finance field and worked with a number of schools over that period. And then when we conceived our MIS product, which is called Engage, it was originally to support the needs of UK independent schools. Okay. And that was in the early noughties. And after around 15 years of product enhancement, and we spent about £6.5 million on R&D, our focus really still remains on schools that act and think independently. Mm-hmm. So in addition to the UK, we've also had lots of success exporting our product to international schools as well. And we were actually recognised for that success for a Queen's Award for our achievements with respect to international trade. And we're now working with schools in over 60 countries. Engage itself works with over 600 schools. And I think really the key to that is the flexibility and versatility of Engage, because it can support all sorts of different types of schools, regardless of curriculum, orientation, and their styles and how they choose to educate. We've always, originally our name was Hebron, and then we became Double First over time when we started exporting the product internationally. And then last September, we rebranded the business to Engage, which is obviously the name of our MIS, but also our finance product suite. And we now supply MIS finance and payroll software to UK under the guise of Engage. So yeah, we've had a few name changes over the years, but we're sort of a lot easier now because the brand is the company, as it were, and the brand is the software as well. So yeah, it's all been changed in the last sort of year or so, and that's been really exciting.
Oh, that's interesting. So you started off in the UK. So I'm assuming I assume one of your biggest competitors is probably iSAMS, I'm guessing, in the UK. Or is it?
Yeah, I think in the UK independent school marketplace, yeah, we would see iSAMS as a competitor. We'd also see WCBS, Schoolbase, and SIMS as well. Those are the sort of I suppose the competitors that we would be seeing the most in the marketplace in the UK. Yeah.
Okay. And have you ever thought about going into the sort of maintain sector? Because obviously it's a big market, or do you just see it as it's dominated too much by one particular supplier? Or
I think we already, of course, work with many UK schools. Up to now, we've decided not to enter the UK state marketplace. I suppose for us there are a number of considerations, because we wouldn't want to enter the marketplace unless we were confident we knew exactly which part of it we were going to serve, and we want to be confident we can add some unique value. There is obviously a major player in the marketplace already. I think for us it's important that we keep our focus for the moment on the independent and international school marketplaces, and if we were to enter the UK state market, we'd need to be resourced appropriately. We'd need a product that could deal with all the compliance aspects of the marketplace, as well, of course, as being able to provide the right levels of service and support. Who knows what will happen in the future? We'll continue to have an open mind, and obviously watch as change happens. I think that's probably where we are at the moment. But no, it's something we're always thinking about, but we're very clear about our focus at the moment and where we can really help schools, and we'd only go into that marketplace if we really felt we could add that unique value.
Yeah, sure. I think it's quite interesting because obviously I would argue that when it comes to independent schools, a lot of their requirements are actually a bit more deeper. So as like with admissions, you have to have the registration admissions. That it needs to be. You have to work with exam. Sometimes there's an entry exam. Sometimes you might have a fee. And then so to a large degree, you could argue that actually what you've got at the moment, it'd actually be a subset of what you've got, which would then need to go into the sort of the maintain market.
Yeah, I think you're right in that independent schools do demand a lot from the product, and they've got obviously the aspect of fees. They've got the aspects of admissions. There's two fairly clear examples where you really have to make sure those are working well as modules within your software. But I think, and actually, in some ways, that's much more complex. Particularly for those independent schools, because if you look at something like fees, it's not as simple as just saying here's the terms bill, and an invoice. Nowadays you've got to look, particularly with international schools, there could be a variety of different people paying for that bill. There could be re-enrollment issues. There could be complexities around siblings or different parents. Much more complexity around relationships with parents and pupils, and extended family and all that sort of stuff. And then of course that rattles on into other parts of the school. So within Engage you've got a module like activities, so there could be all of this extracurricular activity that is billable and actually needs to go into the fees module as well. And then are you a parent pay for that now, or are you rolling it up into a fee, on a termly basis? So there's lots of interactions, I suppose, that happen within the software. So in some ways, taking that example, you could say, well, in the state sector, none of that goes on, and you don't need to worry about that. Similarly with admissions, you've got all sorts of different aspects and processes there. So I think you could take just some aspects of the software into state school. But I think we're a believer in trying to not just give schools one little aspect of what they need. One of the sort of unique things we provide in independent and international is that ability to do as much in Engage as you can, and really run your whole school using Engage. So I think we take that similar ethos into the state marketplace and actually try and have state schools not having to go to lots of different pieces of software, and then all of the data issues that you've got trying to get that software as an interaction and interoperating, and then losing that what I call single source of truth of your data, and all of the different comparisons that then have to go on. So we would want to do it properly, I suppose is what I'm saying, and try and bring value through as much best of breed functionality as possible within one piece of software if we were to do it.
That's really interesting, I think, because there's lots of, so that ethos I think works quite well, and I think people would welcome that sort of ethos for sure. I think I know I did an interview before with Phil Neal, who started Sims, and absolutely that was always his view. One piece of software and ensuring it meets lots of all schools' needs. And I think probably Ali as well when I spoke to him in Broncom as well. So I think if you were to enter into the UK sort of maintain market, I think they would welcome that sort of type of ethos for sure. In some way.
Yeah, and that's not to say that partnerships and interoperability and building towards standards and all that sort of stuff isn't important, because we definitely feel it is. And if a school decides actually X piece of software for this particular need is right for us, we feel that's best of breed. And whilst you've got this suite of features and functionality, we really want to use X. I think that's where you need to be open with your API and making sure that you can play nicely, as it were, with partners and not discourage that in any way. I think it is important still. I just think that it's important that you try and make schools' lives as easy as possible, as opposed to creating all these different data silos and headaches for the IT department, to bring it all together, all the issues of single sign-on. There's a lot of aspects, and schools have got enough to worry about without having to, bring all of that together.
Yeah, no, I do agree with that also. I think it's like VLEs. I don't think they would ever be part of an MIS, as an example. You'd have to work with them, but the data still needs to flow quite nicely between and integrate quite nicely between the two solutions. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So as far as the international market's concerned, so one of your key, so you've gone back to ISAMS. I'm not trying to promote ISAMS when I say this, but obviously ISAMS is one of your key competitors. So how do you tackle that? Ultimately, what differentiates you from all your other competitors, do you think?
Well, first of all, we always respect and expect competition. So regardless of who it is, our response to any competitor is the same as our strategy and our values, which is, every day we help schools succeed, and we're trying to do that by using our product and providing the best possible service we can. We're proud of our long-term commitment to make Engage better for schools. And we're proud of the fact that our product developed by our customers, not by our competitors. So, we're focused on making a high quality, reliable, risk product we believe can work really well for international schools. And I think, there's a lot of, with international schools, they have to have, as I was talking about earlier in the interview, they have to have this versatility within the software. Whilst it's an off-the-shelf focus, and we obviously give people the way we think, most schools run, we also want schools to be able to get off that path if they want to, and say, actually, do things this way. And this is one of the ways we add value, either from an education perspective or a pastoral perspective. Lots of independent school ethoses, which extends to international schools, is about the rounded student and child, and making sure that it's not just grade, it's actually trying to build the child into the best possible human being they can be. And actually, you need to be able to support that in the software as well. So yeah, I think that's how we respond, really, by focusing on what customers need.
Okay, cool. So regarding the independent market, so in the UK, so you've obviously, I assume you've heard about the sale of Sims and what's going on at the moment.
Yes.
So how do you think that's going to affect the UK market? So, how is it going to affect the independent market, do you think?
I think, how do I think it's going to affect the UK market? I think we'll certainly see, I don't have the inside track, obviously, on what's going on with the Sim sale. I think it's still fairly early days. They've clearly made that decision, and we'll see what happens. I do think that we'll see change. Coming into the UK schools. I think though that we'll see, not just as a result of the Sim sale, is really around the fact that the whole education technology industry is moving very fast indeed. So schools are looking for performance products. They're exploring the potential of cloud. They're looking for value for money. They're looking for ease of use. So I think whatever happens with Sim, I think with the recent global pandemic, we're only going to see an acceleration of schools exploring other products as they seek solutions, around the world, embracing technology and looking for more flexible and hybrid solutions. So I think it really depends on what happens who it is. Does that cause fragmentation, or does that give a solution that schools, don't want to go through the risk and change management because they feel confident, in what's going to happen there? So I think, very much the jury's out. As I say, I don't have any inside track, unfortunately. Interest like many others, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think ultimately education technology is going to, and the technological sort of revolution that we're going through anyway is going to mean more technology in schools, and schools would embrace that, and I think that's going to speed up as a result of COVID. So that's where I think I see the change really in the future.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think it's in. So I think there is this. I think I might have put it in a blog somewhere, but ultimately, I always worry a little bit that technology is moving faster than education are taking it on board. That sometimes always worries me. And I think there was on School Zone, I think they did a report where they said 84% of all teachers at the point of when COVID was happening, ultimately were still sending home, coursework via email. And it's not teachers' fault, it's just because they don't get that sort of level of training about when a COVID happens, this is what you need to do. There's none of this continuity sort of planning. But also at the same time, it just shows there is this confidence or low confidence in using technology sometimes, which I think needs to change. And that goes on to your point where, you think technology is going to start moving faster, but would you say it's going to move faster into education now than ever before?
I think we'll certainly see more technology in the classroom, and I think we'll see more distributed ways of working. I think this obviously some of that could be forced as a result of the global pandemic. Some of it could be because some schools decide actually we're going to embrace what we've learned as a result of this, and more perhaps with technology to assist that distribution of working. I think successful MIS and other edtech products will have to support those ways of working. I think that's likely to be through the cloud, but we need to provide easy to use solutions which integrate and interoperate together, because that natural traditional or conservatism or whatever you want to call it, attitude in terms of how schools are run, we're only going to be able to get over some of those barriers if we can demonstrate that these things are easy. So if we make it too complex and too challenging for schools to be able to take these solutions up, then that it's not, we're going to be going fast, but the schools are going to be saying, hang on, we're not ready. So we need to be conscious of that. I think it's not just about what we create from a technology perspective, it's also about how we communicate that and how we try and lead, I suppose, by demonstrating through examples and showing in a really good light where people do have success, so people can see that actually it is possible to make these changes, get benefit, and remove any suspicion or concerns that actually we're moving away from something that has been proven to work. Because I think that's the fear. Ultimately, all teachers just want for their children. Nobody is in the business of stopping things happening or clinging on to older ways of working. If we can see that actually something is really going to work and it's going to get a better outcome for children, and I think that's why we're all that's why one of the reasons I'm, and I think that's clearly why teachers become teachers in the first place. So yeah, we've got to assist, and we've just got to make sure we don't end up just creating technology that doesn't get used because we make it too complex.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think it's anything to do with the school in some ways. I think the onus has to go on, as you said, the edtech community, and also I think colleges and universities. I think there's an onus on them as well to sort of bring some of this technology into the learning, in the sense of when it's about teachers learning how when they're doing their own qualifications. So I think there's an onus on all of us really to actually get out there and get teachers, like you say, comfortable, confident about the solutions that are out there, the ability to move between solutions and finding the best ones, the best of breed, and then using those for the benefit ultimately of obviously of the children who, who are learning. So yeah,
absolutely, yeah.
It's an interesting concept, and I think actually the edtech market needs to do a bit more of the almost the sort of pulling people along. And I don't just, like I say, not just schools or teachers, because I think ultimately they understand that they're there to teach, but they also need to understand that some of these solutions can benefit as part of doing that process. Yeah, cool.
And I think I think just on that point, I think one of the things we've done poorly in the past, as an industry, is say, here's some software, would you like to use? And we need to help schools more with what I call change management, whether project or change management, because even, as an example, even my wife had an Android phone. We decided she would get an iPhone, and you think, well, she's not going to have any problems using that. And actually, in the end, she had to send the iPhone back to an Android phone because she couldn't cope, because it was just that change. And, people would say Apple make really easy to use products, no issues at all, but actually, if you don't have it explained, or you're not ready for that change, or you don't want that change, something can be as easy to use as you like, and it's still going to cause problems when you try and make that change unless you manage it. So I think this is something that we really have a responsibility to try and help schools with, and give them as many resources as we can to assist with any change that they make around technology.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. We all need to understand this, a little bit like you were saying about your wife, that not everybody is a techie. Not everybody,
No, that's right.
And sometimes I include myself.
As much as we can get excited and passionate about it and all of the stuff, ultimately most people are looking for an outcome and for it to be as easy as possible. So yeah, you should never lose sight of